Hello, welcome to Short Story Scene. I'm your host, the storyteller, and here we have a tale called Investigating Flora by Banjo Paterson. 'Twas in scientific circles that the great Professor Brown had a worldwide reputation as a writer of renown. He was striven finer feelings of our natures in a plant by his treatise and his morals of the red-eyed bulldog ant. He had hoisted an opponent who had thrown unawares on his reasons of bare patches on the female native bears. So they gave him an appointment as the instructor to the band for the most attractive females to be gathered in the land. 'Twas the ladies' science circle, just the latest social fad, for the nicest people only, and to make their rivals mad. They were found in the science rambles in the country from the town, in the parade of female beauty and the leadership of Brown. They would pick a place of a luncheon and catch beetles on their rugs. And the professor called them optra and called them nasty bugs. Well, the thing was bound and perish, and now no lovely woman can feel the slightest interest in the club without a man. The professor hardly counted. He was as crazy as a loon, with the countenance suggests of an elderly baboon. But the breath of fate blew on in the sharpest sudden blast, in the ladies' science circle, in the memory of the past. There were 22 members, mostly young and mostly fair, who had made a great excursion to place it back the don't know where, and across a lost river in the road no man's land. There they met an old selector in the stock whip in his hand, and a sight of so much beauty sent him swiftly off his nut. So he asked them, smiling broadly, and then they come down into the hut. "I am come," said the professor, and in the thin and reedy voice, "to investigate your Flora, which I see is very choice." The selector stared dumbfounded till the last he found his tongue. "To investigate my Flora? Oh, you're howling Birmingham young. Why, you're 22 women, and a regular slap-up women too, and you're after little Flora and crawling thing like you? Oh, you more mind gorilla, and I heard it from the first that it wasn't little fellers and 100 times the worst. But the dried-up ape like you are, and the marching through the land with a pack of lovely women, well, I cannot understand." "You mistake," said the professor in the most indignant tone, while the ladies shrieked and jabbered in the fashion of their own. "You mistake about these ladies. I'm a lecturer of theirs. I am Brown, who wrote the treatise on the female native bears. When I said we wanted Flora, what I meant was the native flowers." "Well, you said you wanted Flora, and I swear you don't get ours. And there's Flora's self a-comin', and it's time for you to skip, or I'll write a treatise for you, and I'll write it up with a whip. Now, I want no explanations, just you hook it out of sight, or you'll turn the poor little girl so how." And Professor looked in fright. She was 6 feet high and freckled, and her hair was turkey red. The professor had got a whimper and threw down his bag and fled. And the ladies' science circle, with a stimulus rush, traveled after the professor and went screaming through the bush. At the crossing of the lost river, on the road of no man's land, where the grim and ghostly gum trees blocked the view of every hand, there is a whip in the wail of the wanderer in the seeking of the track, for the hapless old professor hasn't sense to guide him back. And they clutch on to one another, and they yell, scream in fright, as they see the gruesome creatures of the grim Australian night, and they hear the mopokes hooting, and the dingo howl so dread, and the flying foxes jabber in the gum trees overhead, while the weird and wearing wombats in the subterranean caves are digging, always digging, in those wretched people's graves, and the pike-cone Queensland bullock in his shelter of the scrub has his eye on the proceedings of the Ladies' Science Club. And that concludes our tale, Investigating Flora by Banjo Paterson. If you like this content and like to support it, please head on over to Patreon. That is www.patreon.com/shortstoryscene. And I'd like to thank Drac for being a patron, and thank you all for listening. See you next episode. Bye!